Welcome back to Not So Pro Football Talk. Guys, we are doing an overreaction Monday from last week. All these crazy games, this Jets Patriots game, punt return for a touchdown. Chiefs are still one of the best teams in the AFC. Vikings, are they even good anymore? Is he even a good guy? But we'll save that all for later. Guys, I want to just give you a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel. We are at 299 subs right now. We are one away from 300. And when we hit 300, we will be doing a huge giveaway, whether it's a jersey, a signed mini helmet, a signed jersey, I mean. We're going to be giving something away and giving away to one of you subscribers. So if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe right now. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get right into this video. Right now, we're going to talk about some breaking news that just happened via Ian Rappaport. Quarterback Justin Fields suffered a shoulder injury, dislocation. Sources say painful injury he somehow played through on Sunday. Coach Matt Eberflus described Fields as day-to-day right now. His status for this Sunday is still to be determined. So if you own him in fantasy right now, pay attention to this because he might be a game-time decision with what this injury is. So be careful. Vincent's our medical expert. Vincent, do you know anything about what this does for you and as a player, how this could affect him?
So with this, it's just a dislocation. So no, it looks like there was no damage to any ligaments or any of the rotator cuff there. So that's a good sign. The only thing that sucks is that he is susceptible to getting re-injured every single time he gets hit and gets thrown to the ground, because it just takes one more hit or one more sack where he gets thrown to the ground and on that shoulder, and then pop, some other ligaments hurt and he's out for like 6 months, honestly. He's got to get surgery, but so far it looks good. He just like his coach said, Eberflus, he should be day to day, but he's just probably gonna have some soreness is all. So he should be able to play, but again, keep out on the lookout because he could take the week off. You never know.
Yes, I think it's best if they be cautious with him. He is looking like he could be a franchise quarterback for them. Hey, what's up, Brar? Thanks for coming by the stream. We appreciate it. But I mean, you got to be cautious with this guy because when you play him, he is not somebody that's just going to take the slide. That's going to be careful and be cautious with his body. He plays hard. He plays very hard. He's a running quarterback, and hey, if he does play, make sure you start him in fantasy because he is dynamic. But that's all. We just want to do that breaking news for you guys real quick. But let's get into this overreaction Monday, Vince. First overreaction. Do the Jets not only have a terrible quarterback, but just a terrible person? Zach Wilson, after the game press conference, after a terrible offensive game, Vincent, I think you have some stats, but yeah, he had a terrible game. I think he had 77 yards passing total. With the second half, he had negative passing yards, I believe. Crazy. I cannot believe this guy. And after the game press conference, he gets asked, "Hey, do you kind of take responsibility? Is this kind of on you? Do you feel like you've let the defense down?" Immediately, doesn't even give it a second. No. Vincent, what are your immediate thoughts to this?
Well, dude, honestly, the quarterback is the most vital position, especially on offense. I understand the defense has a huge play in how the game goes. And of course, we saw this game with the Jets and the Patriots. It was 3-3 until the last minute of the game when the Patriots ran back that punt return for a touchdown. But I was watching some of the game. It was just horrible, honestly. It was good defense, but
yes,
it was also horrible offensive play. The only offense that was doing good, in my opinion, was the Patriots running backs. They were playing pretty well, but they just could not punch it in. They couldn't. There was so many penalties. It was just a sloppy game.
Field goals.
Yeah, 2 missed field goals. It sucked. I know, that's why I didn't watch the full game, but to see the conference comment that Zach Wilson made is insane because just on the other side of that division, the Bills quarterback, Josh Allen, said that he took ownership for the way that they played and that's why it wasn't a blowout game. But Josh Allen did amazing in that game, in my opinion. He played well up to par. He didn't play like an MVP caliber quarterback, but he took ownership of what he did. He said he had to play better no matter what the circumstances are. But then you see Zach Wilson being a little drama queen over here. No, it's not my fault. It's not my fault we lost. It was defense because of that punt return. But like, he didn't score any points, dude. And honestly, in the past 4 games, he hasn't had a good game at all, except when he faced the Bills. But then again, I think it was mostly the defense. So I think Zach Wilson is a horrible person back from all that drama. Ooh, Brar. Oh my goodness, Brad. 9
This
point.
is this is what Vincent and AJ call lime time. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're good, man. Take the night off, relax. Don't worry about it. You should be fine. Yeah, you should be totally fine. You got this in the back, man.
but yeah, I'm just looking at some of his stats here. Like, Wilson is horrible in my opinion. I've said it before. I don't like him as a quarterback for the Jets. I think he brings them down. But then again, the Jets have not had a good rapport with any of their quarterbacks in the last like 10, 15 years, in my opinion. So, uh, but I think that defense is playing well. They're the reason why they do win games, especially that game they won against the Bills. But Zach Wilson just needs to buck up and honestly play better because he has some decent guys on the offensive side that he can pass to, like Garrett Wilson, as well as any of the other running backs that are healthy there still. But it's just he's a baby, man. He's a drama queen. I don't like him.
Yeah, yeah. AJ says lime time. He agrees with us, bro. You are absolutely fine. Bar says they gave Patrick Mahomes 145. What is it?
Oh,
I
they
don't
gave
know.
him time on the clock. I don't know. He's talking about the game
Okay.
that they played.
Oh, they gave him that much time to score. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's I understand now. Yeah, that was ridiculous. You gotta run out the clock. You cannot give him that much time. He really just needs 13 seconds.
yeah.
So like, yeah, that was really done by the Chargers. But hey, it's hard. If you can score, why not score? Right? It's really tough in those 2 minute managing those that type of stuff. But back to Zach Wilson. I want to like partially defend him, but I don't really believe it. Maybe he was just trying to be like the team aspect. That like, hey, it's none of our fault. We are a team. We take this in together, and we're not going to point fingers, whatever. But also, as a quarterback, as a leader, as I imagine he's some type of leader in that locker room. I would hope. You got to take ownership, especially when you have that type of game. You have to go up there and say, hey, yeah, I didn't play that well. This one's on me, etc. You can't just say no like that and just have that type of attitude. But as far as should they jump ship with him, because Robert Saleh has said that they are looking at all different a quarterback change potentially, and Zach Wilson has been informed in this, so it's not just a hey, yeah, things are always open or whatever, but he has addressed Zach Wilson and say, hey, your spot is not secure. So they could potentially start Joe Flacco next week, something like that. But yeah, I've always been a type of person like let your quarterbacks develop. Peyton Manning, his first few years were not very good. All right. They weren't horrible, but they did not look very good. And look at the type of quarterback he came into. It's too early, in my opinion, to just completely judge Zach Wilson right now. But at the same time, if he's doing stuff like that and being a bad teammate, outside the locker room, we don't know what he is inside the locker room. We don't know exactly what everybody's thoughts of him. I've seen like a few like players like stand by him, etc. But you don't look like a good teammate right now. You may lose some of the locker room, and you may lose some of the fan base because of this. And if you're not being a good teammate, etc., and you're not playing well, your time is very limited. Yes, they invested a lot in you in that pick, but this is a win now league, and you're not winning now. So that's all I have to say about Zach Wilson. Vincent, you have anything else you want to add on?
Nah, man, I just agree with you a lot. I think in that division, especially, everybody has a winning record, including the Jets. Um, he just needs to take more ownership. He's the quarterback. He is one of the stars in the NFL, even though he doesn't play like it. He's one of the faces that everybody looks at. White quarterback, that's how it goes. But he just needs to play better. But I think the Jets need to move on from him, and I hope either Mike White or Joe Flacco plays, because I like the way they were playing before when he was injured. That was just my opinion, but they go with the guy who's younger, more talented. But I think they need to revert back and check that offense and see what they really need, because it's
Yeah.
not him.
Yeah, he has a lot of talent, but as far as his decision making, some of the missed throws he's making, the decisions, yeah, he has a terrific deep ball. But I mean, if he's not making the easy plays, if he's not making the good decisions, I mean, there's not a lot you can do about that. It's that continue to throw him out there, and hopefully he eventually learns. But yeah, that's all we have to say about Zach Wilson. Now this overreaction. Kyle Pitts, are the Falcons dead without him? Kyle Pitts just tore his ACL. They're looking at a second opinion, but he is going to be out for the season. Really, really sad to see that. I have not been the biggest Kyle Pitts supporter, but that's really just fantasy wise. All right, I think he's a very talented tight end. But as far as fantasy, I don't think he's that great. I've been pretty right so far this season. But he tore his ACL, really bummer. What do we think of the Falcons moving on from this year? I know they've been a pretty mediocre team, but what are they without him? And then Vincent, I believe he has some waiver wire pickups potentially for Kyle Pitts if you had him on your fantasy team and now are scrambling for a new tight end.
Yeah, man. And Kyle Pitts, just like we said, he hasn't been the best on fantasy, but like you said, he does have a lot of talent. He has the possibility of being a Mark Andrews type guy just later on in his career. And hopefully he recovers well from this injury. Knee injuries are always the worst, especially with heavy set guys like at the tight end position, where they're going to get down and dirty and block and do all those route running trees that they have. But some guys that you can pick up if you had and were relying on Kyle Pitts, which you probably shouldn't have this far into the season, but some guys like Foster Moreau, they're only owned in 8.6% of leagues. He's been doing pretty decent, and he has a very easy schedule in the next two games against the Seattle Seahawks, who are the second worst against tight ends, and the LA Chargers, who are the sixth worst against tight ends. So he's got a good schedule coming up. Another guy is David Njoku. He's owned in a lot of leagues, which is 54.5%. But he's coming back and he's healthy now for the Browns. And now he's going to get Deshaun Watson not this upcoming week, but the week after that when they play the Texans. And the Texans are middle of the pack against tight ends. So I could see David Njoku playing well this week against the Buccaneers, as well as the next 3 weeks when they have mid-tier teams against tight ends in fantasy. Lastly, I want to talk about this one guy, Juwan Johnson. He's been playing extraordinary in the past 5 weeks. He only has 1 week where he had 3 points. The rest are 20, 13, 15, and 13 again. He has 3 touchdowns in the past 3 games, and he's going up against the Niners next week, who are very good against tight ends, but he just faced the Rams, who are very good against tight ends, and he put up 13 points. So he's a very reliable guy with Brissett throwing him the ball. We'll see how that translates to the end of the season. They do have a late bye at week 14, but he's a very reliable tight end, and he's only owned in 14.1% of leagues, which is crazy to me because at this point in time, if you have a tight end that's scoring you more than 10 points, that's a good top 5 tight end, in my opinion. So take a look at those guys if you had Kyle Pitts and were relying on him, because these guys could get you some points, even more points than what Kyle Pitts was getting you.
Love that advice, Vincent. We are a huge fantasy channel. If you have not figured this out yet, every Tuesday at 6:00 we do go live to answer all your fantasy advice, and then tomorrow AJ will be releasing at noon a waiver wire pickup for all your waiver wire needs, whether it's quarterback, running back, wide receiver, etc. You guys want to check that out. I get a lot of my advice from AJ because he's diving in, doing all the hard research for you. All right. So you guys can sit back, just watch this video and know how to win your fantasy game this week. So make sure you guys check that out at noon for all the waiver wire pickups. And then if you have any questions, come in 6 o'clock. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Because hey, that's what we do for you guys. All right, we love doing this. All right, so Kyle Pitts out for the season. Real bummer. Make sure you drop him if you have him on your fantasy team. KJ Frederick started Joe Mixon, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, and Mike Williams. Unbelievable weekend for you. Hey, that is a big oof, says AJ. That's a big oof, man. That's really rough. Oh yeah, I never had a weekend like this in fantasy. Been playing 10 years. Let us know how many points you had overall, man. I'm really curious because unless you had some real stars in the other positions, like you probably had maybe probably 50 points altogether. That's rough, man. Hey, you just gotta bounce back, right? You just gotta bounce back. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday and figure out who you gotta pick up for on your waiver wire, right? You can come back from this, all right? It's not over. All right, moving on to our Nets overreaction. To one of the biggest surprises, I thought this was going to be a very good game, a very close game, especially with how both of these two teams have been going. I'm talking about the Cowboys and Vikings. Cowboys go into Skull Nation and absolutely just embarrass them. Absolutely embarrass them. 40-3. It was 3-3, and then the Cowboys scored 37 straight points. KJ Frederick, really quick, he says 57.86 points. I was right about there. I was like, yeah, that's rough, man. I bet you got absolutely obliterated. But hey, just don't forget about this week. Move on. You got this, right, man? You got this.
Roll with the punches, my guy.
But my overreaction for this game, and I'm not going to talk about the Vikings for this overreaction, all right? I know everybody thought I was going to bag on the Vikings. I kind of did in my group chat with Vincent and AJ. I was right. They're not that good. But, hey, I'm not going to talk about that. But my overreaction... I told you so dance, AJ. My overreaction is I think that potentially the Cowboys could be the best team in the NFC if they play up to their potential. With that defense, that pass rush, I know the Vikings had a banged up offensive line, and that's one of the reasons why they let 7 sacks against that Cowboys defense. But the Cowboys offense is firing all cylinders. Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott each had 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns for Zeke, 2 touchdowns for Pollard. Pollard had 180 scrimmage yards, 180. They are so dynamic. And then with Dak just making smart plays, if he just makes smart plays, if he did that against the Packers, I know everybody was writing off the Cowboys after they lost to the Packers. Terrible loss for them. But, I mean, if you take away those 2 interceptions in the end zone or in the red zone, the Cowboys put up 40 points against the Packers easily, and they win that game. So I think that the Cowboys could potentially be one of the best teams in the NFC if they play up to their potential. Now, as AJ always says, the Cowboys beat themselves. So that's one of the biggest things they have to battle going forward. But, guys, I think the Cowboys could potentially be a great team for the NFC in the NFC going into the playoffs. I know they have to beat the Eagles, etc., but they are a very good team. Vincent, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I have Pollard on one of my fantasies, which is the one where I'm not doing very well in, and I've decided to start him the rest of the season just because of the way he's playing. But the Cowboys are really, really good. Their defense is great. They have a lot of guys who are, bummed out. They got injuries here and there, so they're not exactly healthy. But Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons, and he's got help from D-Law. He's got some guys who are second stringers, but they're playing like first stringers. So the cornerbacks are doing well. Diggs is doing pretty decent. He's locked up Justin Jefferson twice now in the past 2 times that he's played him. So I think they're doing very well on defense. Offense, you're exactly right. Dak Prescott has been playing like a smart quarterback. He hasn't come back and been like, oh, I got to make all these big plays by myself. He's handing the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. He's checking down with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. He's not throwing long balls out there like he would when Dez Bryant was there. But Dalton Schultz is also a guy who's very, very consistent. So the Cowboys are doing good, but I'll talk a little bit about the Vikings because I'm very very surprised. We saw it, just like Reed said, at tied at 3-3, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a good game. I got one of these kickers, and whew, it's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna get a bunch of points, but I was correct. I got a bunch of points because I had Brett Meyer, but he got me like 20 something points, so I was excited about that, but. I was just disappointed. I felt bad for people who had Justin Jefferson, who had TJ Hawkinson, who had their running back Dalvin Cook. Like they just weren't getting anything whatsoever. And that defense was just getting played with. I felt like every time Pollard got the ball, it was at least a 10-yard pickup. Or whenever he caught a pass, it was like a 20-yard pickup. And then the only reason that Pollard was getting so many touches was because Ezekiel Elliott went out. But if Zeke didn't go out, man, that D line would have been getting pounded and pounded and pounded. I just don't get it. I understand that the Cowboys defense is good and that their D line is really good and they get a lot of pressure, but man, I did not think the Vikings were that bad on their offensive side. And the Cowboys manipulated them and they played them hard. And all these Vikings fans, I saw it on TikTok. They're like, "Oh, it's gonna be great going 9-1. We're gonna beat the heck out of these Cowboys." And I feel bad for them right now, but the Vikings have a tough schedule going into the second half, and the Cowboys have a very good schedule. So I could definitely agree with you that if they could be a team that can make a playoff run if they play the way they played this past weekend.
I like it. All right. Julie Crafter says, "Let's go, boys." Hey, I'm the biggest Cowboy hater out there, and I'm like very surprised and like honestly, like, hey, I think you guys could do it. I think you guys can do it. I think you guys got a good team. If you guys stay healthy and just play smart, situational football, you guys can win a lot of games. AJ Alvarado says, "Check out our waiver wire pickups tomorrow at 12 and our live fantasy Q&A at 6." KJ KJ says he's going to check that out. AJ, thank you. And then Nestor says, "Hello, what's up, Nestor? Thanks for tuning in. As always, guys, we are one away from hitting 300 subscribers. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, and let's get us to 300 so we can do that giveaway to you guys. But real quick, let's keep on talking about the Cowboys and Vikings because this is like the biggest surprise in my mind as far as this week. The Vikings. I've been telling you guys they're not that good. All right, I've been saying from the very beginning. I think they're going to win the NFC North. At the way the Lions, the Packers, the Bears are all going, nobody's going to catch up to them. Even though the Lions are on a 3-win streak right now, which is crazy. Is this a new Lions? I don't know. We'll talk about that later potentially. But this Vikings team, all right, they're not going to be able to go the distance in the playoffs. All right, they're not. This offensive line is not built to be able to help these amazing weapons they have on offense. Yes, they have Dalvin Cook. They have a good, decent enough Kirk Cousins. They have what's that tight end that they traded for?
TJ Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson, TJ Hawkinson, they have Justin Jefferson, etc. The list goes on. They have weapons on that offense, but if you cannot win in the trenches, you cannot win a game, especially in the playoffs. All right. When they go against these good teams in the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be able to win it all. All right. That's just that's my biased opinion, but I do not see this team as being someone that can go the distance. In my opinion, they just can't. In my opinion. Yeah, I can't say I wish the best for them. Yeah, I hope they totally get demolished in the divisional round, wild card round, hopefully. But yeah, I've been telling you guys they're not that good, and they got exposed by the Cowboys. They got exposed.
But here's the thing: I think they will play up a little bit better. I'm not gonna say they're gonna
for sure.
play.
They're not
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna play like that again.
Yeah, this was a definite wake up call for them. They actually played a contender in the playoffs. Like they really haven't lately. They did beat the Eagles, I think, and they beat the Cowboys when. Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
they beat the Eagles.
Yeah, no, I'm
They
thinking about
lost to the
another team.
Eagles.
I think I'm thinking about another team. I think I'm thinking about the Washington Commanders, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, but I mean the Vikings have beat the Bills. I know that for sure.
Yes, they beat the Bills. They let me look up some of their wins just real quick for you.
Yeah, they've been beating a lot of teams. I know they beat the Packers. They
They
beat
beat the Packers.
the
They lost to the
Lions.
Eagles. They beat the
Yeah,
Lions. Beat the Saints. Beat the Bears. Beat the Dolphins. That's one of their good wins.
yeah.
Beat the
There you go.
Cardinals. That's a decent one. Beat the Commanders, which is good, and then the Bills, which is good. Um, but their losses, I mean, yeah, I'm just not convinced on this team. All right, I never will be. All right, I'm biased. The Vikings, they've never won a Super Bowl. They don't have that culture. They don't have what it takes, in my opinion. Maybe when they have a better team, um, overall, I think they could maybe do it. But I just don't see this team as what they have on the roster right now be able to go the distance and win. I think they're going to have a few more injuries, and that's just going to do them in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I think they need to get into the playoffs. I think they need to win one playoff game and then lose horribly to a good contender, and that will help them in the next few years as they draft and see what they actually need to win. But the Vikings are not real contenders. They will make the playoffs just because of that division, the way the standings are. But I do not see them as a true contender unless they play lights out and Justin Jefferson goes off for 200 yards every single game. I don't see them making it to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I don't even see them winning the wild card because at this point the NFC East is so stacked. They're gonna have to play one of those teams, either the Giants or the Cowboys or maybe the Eagles if they end up not winning the division, because anybody can win it right now. So I think they lose in the wild card, in my opinion. Um, Liam Vincent, why don't you take this question?
Yeah, man. He says thoughts on Zeke the rest of the season. Here's the thing. Tony Pollard is amazing. He's going to keep playing that 50-50 rule unless Zeke is hurt. But Zeke is when he starts dealing with injuries, he starts decreasing in points. So I'm not 100% sure on how this injury will affect him going forward, but he's going to be a consistent guy. Like I said, him and Pollard go 50-50. Pollard is the more boom type of guy, but Ezekiel Elliott right now is the consistent back who's going to get you yards, who's going to be the guy who's going to get you touchdowns. Because as we saw in this past game, in that first quarter, Tony Pollard could not get into the end zone inside the 5. He tried twice to get into that goal line push, but he just could not. He got stuffed twice. And then as soon as Zeke went in, it's like that line transformed because they knew Zeke was going to get in. Zeke picked the right hole and he dived in, got the touchdown as easy as pie. So Zeke is the guy they're going to use in the red zone, as from what I'm seeing. But Tony Pollard will be the guy who they pass it to him and he's going to make a play. So if you have either of them on fantasy, they are guys who can start at the running back 2, running or the flex position, because their points will vary going into the season. But they have a very pretty good schedule going up for running backs in fantasy. So I think for you, Liam, I think Zeke is going to be at least your running back 2 or your flex, unless you have a super stacked team. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I like that. I like that. I totally agree with you. Pollard, they're splitting carries right now, but he's going to be the guy that makes the play and get the big yardage. What about Latavius Murray with MG3 gone and Edmonds hurt? He's going to get a lot of carries. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think he's a must start with them dropping Melvin Gordon. Really sad to see him go. Hope he gets picked up by some team or he gets some type of deal somewhere. Because I don't think he's that bad in my opinion. I think the Denver Broncos just did him absolutely dirty and how they treated him. So hope the best for him. He's I think he's good in my opinion. If you give him the right carries, I don't think he's a running back 1 anymore. But he's a really good guy, and I really hope the best for him. But Latavius Murray is going to get the majority of carries now that Melvin Gordon is gone.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think this past game he got 18 carries, like 60 yards and a touchdown, as well as like a couple catches in there. So Latavius Murray is going to be used. Edmonds might, when he comes back, he might actually play for them and get some good points at the end of the season. But right now, Latavius Murray is their only reliable back. I think that they'll run with him more often than not. And then the way that Broncos team is going, I think Russell Wilson's going to be checking down and handing off the ball more than often. So if you have him, good pickup. He might be a flex position for you. I see him getting like 12, 15 points max. That's his ceiling, in my opinion, unless something crazy happens.
All right, I like that. I like that. Moving on in Overreaction Monday, I hate saying this because I don't like hyping this guy up, but I think potentially this is my overreaction. We all went into this season thinking that Patrick Mahomes without Tyreek Hill was going to be terrible. We were not very high on him. We thought he was going to be lost, but we have learned that yeah, Travis Kelsey is a big part of it, but it doesn't matter who's out there. It doesn't matter what wide receivers out there. He's going to make a play, and they're going to be dynamic. Patrick Mahomes had 3 touchdowns, 320 yards, 20 for 31. Big help from Travis Kelsey, obviously, 115 yards, and he got those 3 touchdowns. But I mean, Tony went down. I believe what's his
Hardman
name?
was out.
Juju was out.
Yeah.
MVS only had 1 catch. The guys that we thought were going to be the big people as far as wide receivers this year, and after that trade with Tony, they haven't been dynamic at all as far as these past few weeks. And we have people like Justin Watson, we have Sky Moore making catches, etc. Jody Forster. I don't know who these people are. If you're a Chiefs fan, you probably know who they are, but I have no idea. And these guys are making plays. Yes, it's still the Travis Kelsey show. It's still the Patrick Mahomes show, but he has shown that that it doesn't really matter who's out there. He is that good of a player, in my opinion. And I hate saying that because I do not I don't know why, but I don't like Patrick Mahomes that much. And I want somebody else in the AFC to succeed. But what are your thoughts about this overreaction, Vincent?
I'm going to pull this one up real fast.
Yes.
It's going to coincide with what I want to say.
Mhm.
I think Patrick Mahomes is good. We saw that he was rushing the ball pretty well. He had a lot of great decisions this past week. But getting to Liam's question, do y'all think the Chargers can sneak into the playoffs? I think so. The Chargers are not a bad team, and we've seen it from the past games that they've played. And every time they play up in a divisional game, they play pretty well. So, in my opinion, I think Chargers and the Chiefs are going to be able to sneak into the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes is playing good. Once everybody is healthy, Keenan Allen, he's playing a little bit better now. He's back from that injury, hopefully for sure this time. But Eckler can also be a guy who's going to bring them into a playoff push. So the Chargers, I'm not too sure on their schedule. I don't know if you want to pull that up real fast, Reed, but
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
think the
at
Chargers have.
Okay. They have the Cardinals, Nets, Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Colts, Rams, and Broncos. So not the hardest of schedules, but
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say no to this, in my opinion.
Ooh.
As far as looking at the rest of the AFC, right now the Chargers are sitting in 9 as far as seeding, with who's number 8? Jets as atop of them, then the Bengals, and then the Patriots, then the Bills. There's a lot of good teams in here that I don't think they're going to be beat out, in my opinion. I think the Bengals are make the playoffs. I think the Patriots are like that 50-50 right now. They're 6-4 right now, which not a lot of us predicted. Other than me, I was a little high on the Patriots. But I just don't be able to, I don't see them being able to contend with these other teams, in my opinion. And they can, these are all, a lot of these games, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Colts, Rams, those are all winnable games, but I don't see them winning every single one of them. Also, they're sitting at 5-5 right now. They haven't, that the defense hasn't shown us a lot that I can believe in them. Justin Herbert playing very, very well, not playing bad, but not playing incredible either, though. I don't think that they can go the distance, in my opinion. Liam says, I think Chargers could beat Patriots and Jets, but that's coming from a Chargers fan. Hey, you always got to stay hopeful, man. I think it's totally possible. Jets did not look good against the Patriots. The Patriots didn't look that great against the Jets. Maybe that's just two teams, really good teams going at it, but I just don't know if you guys are going to be able to pull it out. Maybe it's just because Keenan Allen has been hurt all year, etc. But I don't know. I'm just not sold on you guys right now.
Yeah, man, they still are a young and upcoming team. We talked about it, that this is going to be Justin Herbert's slump year, and it really hasn't been, but he just hasn't had the players around him, and sadly, that it's not good for him. But I think they could possibly sneak a win in against the Cardinals next week. Maybe even in December once they start that playoff push against the Raiders. I think they could beat them. Dolphins, I don't know. I think the Dolphins are too good. Titans, I don't know about that one either, but I think they can beat the Colts. So I think they win 3 more games. That'll put them at like what 8-7. Uh,
Mhm.
it's not one of the best records. They do have a few more games in there, but those are just some of the games that I think they can win possibly. So it's going to be tough, but it just depends on what the Jets and Patriots can do. So right now, like Reed said, they are ranked ninth, but the Jets are in front of them. Bengals. I don't know about their schedule either. They do have some tough matchups coming into the back half of their season. And then, it's going to be a toss up. It's going to be a good season for playoff seeding, but the Chargers definitely could. But for sure, I think the Chiefs are going to win that division. The way that they're playing it's been good.
Yeah.
If you have Kelsey or you have Patrick Mahomes, they're doing pretty well right now together.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, AJ Alvarado says, "You handsome gentleman, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I think the 49ers will win the division." Now, I'm going to answer this first because obviously Vincent is biased as a Seahawks fan. He's going to say the Seahawks, especially with how well they've been playing.
Mhm.
But I'm going to answer this unbiasedly. I know I'm always trashing on the Niners, but I'm also always trashing on the Seahawks. So you have a very unbiased opinion here. So right now, the Seahawks are at 6-4. Niners are at 5-4, and they're playing tonight on Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. They're playing against the Cardinals. So, in my opinion, I think the Cardinals and Rams are out of this race. In my opinion, they're out. I don't. Yeah, they're not. Neither one of them are in this race. In my opinion, 49ers rest of their schedule. And Vincent, can you pull up the Seahawks schedule? So the 49ers have Cardinals tonight, and then next week they have the Saints, Dolphins, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, and Cardinals. That's not that too tough of a schedule, in my opinion. I think the hardest game you guys have here is going to be against the Dolphins, which I'm going to give the advantage to the Dolphins, in my opinion, just because they have more offensive firepower, in my opinion. And then your next hardest game is going to be the Seahawks, and you guys already beat the Seahawks. And I don't know if you guys can you can sweep them, in my opinion. So I'm going to have to give advantage to the Seahawks on that one. So I think you guys could potentially lose 2 more games, and then maybe potentially fall in one of these other games. You do play the Cardinals twice. Still, Commanders are looking like a good team, but Bucks, Saints, Raiders, I think you guys have a lock. In my opinion, it really just depends on the Seahawks schedule. Vincent, what is it?
All right, so we do have a tough schedule, so that's the only reason I'm going to say yes to you, AJ.
Oh,
I do think that we do end up losing some of these games in the back half. Our next game is against the Raiders. We're gonna win that one, in my opinion. As of right now, the way we're playing, besides the Bucks game, we had a late push where we tried to win, but we've been playing pretty well on offense. So after this bye week, I think we definitely address all that late start stuff, and Gino gets back to it. So we're gonna beat the Raiders, in my opinion. Then we have the Rams. I think we do beat them. We have the Panthers. I think we beat them as well. I don't think they're playing very well. So that's 3 most likely possible wins in the next 3 weeks. But then, like you said, we do play the 49ers. Hopefully, we can sneak in a win there. If we do, we should be ahead of the 49ers because we'll be split on that game. So by that time, we should have one more win than the 49ers if everything goes as planned. But after that, we have the Chiefs, the Jets, and then we have the Rams again in the last week. So that's where I think we could possibly lose 3 games, whether it be against the 49ers. If we do lose and we get swept by them, the Chiefs, it's going to be a tough one. The last time we played the Chiefs, it was a freaking brawl. But the Jets, they have such a good defense. I don't know how we're going to play against that defense. It just determined on how we're going to run the ball that game. If we can run the ball against the Jets, we should be fine. But if we can't, we're going to get stuffed on the pass because once the Jets take away the run, the pass is even easier for them to take away. So I think Gino could possibly throw some picks in that game. I think we lose. And then we played the Rams again, who don't really have anything to play for, but we will. So we know that the Rams will come and try to beat us really bad because the Rams are kind of our kryptonite in this league. in our division at least. We usually split with the 49ers or we sweep them, but this year they're pretty good. We usually sweep the Cardinals, and we have already, but we always get swept by the Rams, no matter what type of team they are. So that's going to be a hard one for us. So, in my opinion, I think just because of the way the season is going and the 49ers schedule, I think the Seahawks could end up being second in the division, but hopefully we get in with that 7th spot for the playoffs.
All right, I like it. Um, yeah, I like that. I'm gonna have to go give the advantage for 49ers, in my opinion, going off of the, both of your end of schedules. Liam says so many injuries, lost 3 more starters last night. Hey, that's rough, man. Um, I like the Chargers. I have nothing. I have no ill will against the Chargers. I hope you guys bounce back and make a playoff push. All right. We always love the end of the season those teams that are making a playoff push and they end up making it, knocking out somebody from the playoffs. It's always fun. Love watching that. During those last few weeks. All right. We're gonna have one more overreaction before we end this video. This is a rapid fire question, Vincent. So get ready. Who do you think is the harder team at right now? Is it the Lions or the Commanders? Lions are coming off a 3-win streak, and the Commanders are looking pretty well under Heineke. What do you think, Vincent?
Sorry, excuse me, I had to
You're
cough
good.
there.
You're good.
But right now, I think it's the Lions, you know? Now, I will say I don't like their quarterback, but I like the way that Jamal Williams is playing, and I like the way that defense is playing. Hutchinson had a great interception this past game. Uh, so that's their defense is playing much better. But the Commanders are no joke either. They're 6-5. Every single team in that division has a winning record currently. Uh, but in my opinion, I think the Lions are the hotter team. And I like their schedule going forward. They do have a tough matchup against the Bills, but they've been playing good against good teams. But then they have the Jags, the Vikings, the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers again. So they have games where they can totally win, but it's going to take a lot to win them. But in my opinion, the way they're playing and the way that offense is running, as well as the defense, I think the Lions could end up getting more wins in the back half of their season than they have losses. Now, for the Commanders, I think it's wishy-washy, you know. I think they have a pretty favorable matchup this next week against the Falcons. They should probably win, but then they have the Giants twice back to back, basically, after a bye week. And then they have the 49ers, Browns, and the Cowboys. I don't think they are going to win more than 2 games there. They could squeeze out a win as divisional rivals against the Giants, but I just don't like how their team has been playing. They've been playing good. Their defense has been playing pretty well, but I don't like how it looks for them in the back half of the season.
All
So
right, all
I'm
right.
going Lions.
All right, I'm going Commanders. I really like this Commander team under Heineke. I like what they're doing. I like what they're bringing to the table. And at the end of the day, yes, the Lions beat the Packers, and I'm very, very sad about that. Very, very sad about that. But at the end of the day, I think that as long as they have Jared Goff as their quarterback, this is the same old Lions. They're going to be bad. Just wait. They'll expose themselves again. But I'm very happy for MCDC Dan Campbell. I love that guy, incredible head coach. I wish he was on the Packers staff, in my opinion. Not replacing Matt LaFleur, obviously, but I love MCDC. Hope he keeps his job this next year. All right, Liam is back with another question. I'm in control here, Vincent. Back
I
off.
got you, man.
All
I got
right,
you.
Liam says, "Would you start Deshaun over Herbert when he's back?" In my opinion, absolutely not. Deshaun, he has not played football a long time. He only played one drive or something in preseason, and he looked absolutely terrible. The only way I would just start Deshaun is if he comes back first game or second game and starts playing well. He puts up good points. Herbert, he's a consistent quarterback. He puts up good points. Do not start Deshaun over Herbert unless Deshaun shows you something to believe in. I do not trust it. Yeah, his first game is against the Texans, and Texans stink, so maybe that's a good matchup for him, and he could potentially be good off the bat. But I just do not trust him. It's going to be a transition from them going from Brissett to Deshaun. I do not trust it. If you have him on your team, that's smart as far as being fantasy advice. But I would not start him until you see something that gives you confidence in starting him.
Yeah, man, I would agree. I definitely think the Texans could play a good game against the Browns. The only reason I have the Browns winning that one is because they have Nick Chubb. Damian Pierce is doing well for the Texans as well, but I don't think that they have enough to beat the Browns in their entirety. The Browns defense is good. They have Myles Garrett still there. He still is a force in the NFL when he wants to play. But I think Deshaun Watson will not play good when he comes back. That's not very much a bold prediction just because he hasn't played in forever. But that's going to be my quote unquote bold prediction here because I don't think Deshaun plays good this entire rest of the season. I think he's already getting paid. They're not going to bench him. Brissett has been playing good, but next year is when Deshaun Watson can actually make a difference. I'm hoping he's not a super stud because I really don't like what happened in all that situation. But he is a quarterback in the NFL. He is there for a reason. I think he'll play well, but he's not going to be a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. Blurpy, welcome back to the stream. Love all your questions. Trying to get Kendall Walker the third. I may be able to trade Kamara for him 1-on-1. Should I trade Kamara or Dalvin Cook for Walker if he says yes? Who would you rather keep in that scenario, Cook or Kamara? I'm gonna go off right off the bat and say I would trade Kamara for him. I think KW the third is a great running back. And I think he's going to put great points, especially in the later half of the season. Kamara, I just see him falling off, in my opinion. Vincent's, I'm pretty sure he's looking up strength of schedule right now. But I really think this is a good trade for you. I think Cook is the running back you would rather keep, in my opinion. So I think Kamara for Kendall Walker is a good trade.
Yeah, man, definitely trade away Kamara. I think Cook has a much more favorable schedule. But Kamara, the next 6 weeks is going up against the 49ers, the Buccaneers. The Falcons is an easy game, but he's got the Browns, Eagles, and Panthers after that, which are all pretty good teams against running backs. Now, Kamara isn't a traditional running back, but he hasn't been playing up to par. And I know you'll see some different advice out there saying Kamara is a sleeper to have during the playoffs, but he's not. The Saints are the Saints. They are in trouble as of past videos that we made, and we stick by that this entire year. I don't think Kamara has a good playoff schedule, but Blurpy says Kamara has a great playoff schedule, but Walker's isn't bad too. But in my opinion, Kenneth Walker, he's more utilized. Kamara is the number one receiver there for the Saints, but I just don't believe in their offense at all. I don't believe in their O-line. Kamara will get bottled up, especially going into the back end of the season. Might have one game or two games here against bad defenses like the Panthers as well as the Falcons. But other than that, Kamara is not a guy who's going to win you your league. Kenneth Walker will because he's utilized. He's actually been utilized in the past now too. So he does have that upside. So in my opinion, I say Kenneth Walker. If you can get him with Kamara, do it. But Cook is not bad either, but I'd rather have Cook.
All right. Thoughts about Hollywood the rest of the season? Hollywood is coming. Is he off of that injury already?
Yeah, I think he is starting to practice.
Okay, so he's starting to practice. He's going to be back soon. Kyler Murray is coming off of his injury. He's not playing tonight, but he should be back next week. I would expect so. So I definitely think those two will connect well. DeAndre Hopkins is going to take targets away from him, but he's also going to take a lot of attention with it. Also, I think Hollywood could get a lot of good points, in my opinion. I think if you have him on your team, I think he's a must start.
Yeah, man.
What other wide receivers you have?
Yeah, I definitely think the way he played before he got injured, he is a for sure starter at the wide receiver too, and a definite starter at flex if you have anybody better than him and more reliable. But in my opinion, I hope he doesn't come back and do good because I have Rondo Moore in like 3 leagues, and I think if Hollywood comes back, he's gonna take all the points from Rondo Moore just because he has more compatibility with Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray does come back healthy this next week for the hamstring injury, he's actually playing Call of Duty because ever since all that promos have been coming out, he's been injured. Besides that fact, I think Hollywood is a guy to start at flex for sure, especially the first week he comes back because he has an instant connection with Kyler and he has instant uh, playmaker ability because when he's on the field.
Yeah. I definitely think I do not blame Kyler Murray for playing Call of Duty and not wanting to play. That game is fun. It is so much fun. Blurpy says, I have Olave. That's a really good wide receiver to have on your team right now. Yeah, Walker is probably a good matchup proof. Yeah, I think it's a good trade for you. Go ahead and trade Kamara for Kendall Walker. Liam says my wide receivers are Keenan Allen, Godwin, Rondale Moore, DJ, Tony, Juju, and Hollywood. I definitely say Hollywood is definitely must start as far as that roster goes. Keenan Allen still coming off that injury, not looking 100%. Godwin, I think that's your wide receiver number
Mhm.
2. And then it's just whoever has a good matchup from there, in my opinion, as far as week to week, as far as your slot receiver.
Yeah, man. Hopefully Keenan can be healthy and make an
Yeah.
impact. He did make an impact this past week. It wasn't a huge one, but if he can be healthy, he'd definitely be your flex guy for sure. Because I think Hollywood and Godwin, just like Reed said, are the main guys who are going to be consistent.
All right. We're gonna end this episode. This is the end of Overreaction Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button if you did. Make sure you tune in tomorrow with a fantasy video by AJ at 12 noon. And he's gonna give you all your waiver wire pickups. So make sure you guys tune into that. I'll be paying attention so I can steal all of his players because I'm bad. I'm worse than him, so he's not gonna be able to pick up anybody this week. It's too bad, AJ. And then make sure you guys tune in to our fantasy live at 6 o'clock for all your waiver wire pickups, start, sit-ums. Should I trade for this player? Is this a good trade? We'll answer all your questions. We give the best advice we possibly can, and we hit really well, in my opinion. I think we graded ourselves around 90% as far as our advice goes. So, hey, pay attention, and you should be able to win your fantasy league. Vince, do you have anything before we log off?
Yeah, man, definitely refer your friends to us. Do not let them get on NFL football. AJ says messed up, man. Yeah, especially in the NSP league. Oh, AJ, you better know that I'm gonna steal all your stuff. But nah, I'm just joking. I am a little bit better than you guys in that league, not by far. But yeah, I think just tell your friends to watch our stuff. Just like Reed said, we are very good at predicting these things. We do have some mess ups here or there, but it's all those insiders that we have from the people we talk to and the shows that we watch as well. We do very well. So just watch our stuff and it'll speak for itself. We promise you.
All right. So that's all. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're still one subscriber away from hitting 300. So make sure you guys hit that, and we'll be able to do a giveaway and give you guys an awesome autographed memorabilia. So, as always, as we always say, keep on grinding. See you guys next time.